All right, so we just finished watching a video about multitasking and driving. So we're going to keep going on that attention span here. So the psychological refractory period. So this would be after your stimulus response phase. And I forgot what the second one was off the top of my head here. So if you're in the middle of generating one response to that first response, as in someone's going to pass to the left, and I've just said I'm going to try to stop that pass. A second response happens, and that's going to slow my response to a pass to my right. And a good place to kind of see this would actually be during fencing. So a fencer will make a fake one way, and then on its second move is how they are going to score the point. Great game for watching that. You should take the fencing class, by the way, if you haven't already. So a double stimulus paradigm. So this is when you have one stimulus and then you add a second one right after it. And that delay in response is measurable. So a thing here, imagine there's somebody who's got two hands here. They're right hand and left hand. And when the first response happens, they click onto the right one. And if the second light happens, they have to react to the second one. Well, the response time of that first one, if it's in the middle of this response period, it's going to make this reaction time slower on the second response. And here's what that would look like. Here's that second response. Here's the reaction time between those two. So there also is, they call it the probe task. So this is when there's a strategic point in that performance of that primary task, and the attention demanded for that main task all of a sudden is probed by a second task. And so they're using that response time in there to distract them. And so here's stimulus one, response selection, and they have to pick that movement coming after. So they have the second response, they'll have two of them, and they have to it's going to be delayed to select which program they want to grab. So there is a focus of attention during an action, so the internal focus or external focus. If you're internal, you're monitoring the ongoing movement. External will be like, here's the target, the free throw, the field goal. Oh, you mean the extra point? So some people, there's a phenomenon called choking, where a player would miss something that they normally wouldn't.
Sports psychologists call it paradoxical performance. Most of us just call it choking, and that's exactly what Brett Maher did last night. The Cowboys kicker missed 4 extra points. No kicker in NFL history has ever missed more than 3 in a game. The sports psychologists say this is just a matter of overthinking and confidence. Maher is having the best season of his career. He's made 50 of 53 extra point attempts and 29 of his 32 field goal attempts. The sports psychologists see what happened last night as a classic case of trying to do too much.
It's just an automatic task for him, and if you allow that to happen, that's when you find success. But when you're trying to manage the stress of the situation, you tend to not overthink, but you try to control the situation as much as possible, and you can't control an automatic task and perform well.
Owner Jerry Jones and Coach Mike McCarthy both say that they stand behind Maher, that over the season, he has earned their confidence. I'm William Joy.
So it does happen, and it also happened in golf and some other things along those lines. So here's where that could actually move on to another thing here.
Hello and welcome to another complete Cambridge IGCSE PE lesson, the third topic in Chapter 9, Arousal. As always, we'll cover absolutely everything you need to know for your exam, and today you need to be able to define arousal and explain the effects of under and over arousal, interpret the inverted U theory of arousal, and identify the signs of optimal arousal for different skills. Arousal, our key term for the lesson, can be defined as an increased level of mental excitement and alertness. It's the state of being enthusiastic and mentally and physically ready to compete. And having the right level of arousal is essential if you're to perform at your best. If an athlete is under-aroused, they may not be focused or excited enough to perform effectively and are likely to lack drive and determination. To mitigate against this, athletes use a range of techniques to pump themselves up before or during competition. For example, New Zealand's rugby team performs a ritual dance called the haka to raise their arousal levels prior to kick-off. Athletes can also become over-aroused, however. which often results in stress, anxiety, and nervousness, becoming psyched out by the opposition, and physiological symptoms such as an increased breathing and heart rate, sweaty palms, nausea, and muscle tremors or shakiness. Too much arousal can therefore lead to mistakes and suboptimal performances. In 1908, two psychologists named Yerkes and Dodson came up with a theory called the inverted U theory that explains the relationship between arousal and performance. According to this theory, as arousal increases, performance will also increase, but only until an optimal level is reached. We refer to athletes who reach this level as being in the zone. A flow state is achieved, and performers are determined and focused on the task at hand. As arousal continues to increase beyond this point, performance will begin to drop. Remember, over-arousal leads to stress, anxiety, and a number of physical symptoms, all of which have a negative impact on performance. So evidently reaching an optimal level of arousal is beneficial, but what does that level look like, and is it always the same? Well, the simple answer is no, as Yerkes and Dodson also stated that the optimal point varies depending on an individual's skill level, their personality characteristics, and the nature of the task or skill being performed. For example, activities that require fine skills such as archery or snooker require high levels of precision and accuracy, meaning performers operate best at lower levels of arousal. Too much arousal here may affect their ability to remain calm and produce controlled, delicate movements. Gross skills, on the other hand, for example a rugby tackle, 100-meter sprint, javelin throw, or boxing, require much higher levels of arousal. These skills involve large, powerful movements, and athletes need to be determined, focused, and both physically and mentally excited if they're to perform at the required intensity. At this point, if you don't quite understand what the terms gross and fine mean in the context of skills, I recommend you go and watch my video on skill classification by clicking on the banner. Now, you'll need to be able to identify the level of arousal required for a variety of different skills, so why not pause the video now and have a go at ranking these examples. You should place the skill with the highest optimal level at the top. Now, don't worry if your list isn't exactly the same as the one presented here, as ranking skills isn't an exact science. Gross skills that require physical readiness, drive, and determination would require higher levels of arousal and should be placed near the top. Fine skills, on the other hand, rely on a calm, relaxed approach and are therefore performed best when arousal is lower. Now, you've just covered everything you need to know on topic 9.3, arousal. During our next lesson, we'll look at the causes and symptoms of anxiety in sport.
All right, so he did a pretty good job explaining this, so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on it here. This one's slightly different. Notice the angles here, that once you get over performance, that it kind of angles out a little ways, rather than being just a perfect inverted U, so it's a little bit different there. They call it perception narrowing. So the tendency for a perception field to shrink under stress with high arousal. So if people get distracted, or people trying to distract someone shooting a free throw, the team the other night, I don't remember what that red team was, but the girls team, every free throw we shot, they were screaming in the middle of our guy's shot. And I'm like, seriously? At this level, they don't care. It doesn't make a difference. But they felt that they could do it. So they were trying to make their perception wide enough to see what they were doing. This is an important mechanism because it allows a person to devote more attention to the stimuli that are immediate and most likely and relevant. So ignoring the free throw or the volleyball serve, people trying to distract them and just focusing on what they're doing. I think this works really good for mountain biking. So as we're going here, what are you focusing on? How close to the front tire are you looking? Are you looking further ahead or are you looking right at it? All right, so that's just an interesting one there. So you have a couple of assignments. So one of them, you're just going to do apply number 2. I was going to have you pair share this in class, but I think this is just listed on there as apply number 2. So take these things here and They should also be listed on there. And you're going to take how could that, when you're a mountain biker, how would that work in comparison? All right, your next assignment is going to be about your pre-shot routine. So some sports have a pre-shot routine, like basketball, your free throw, volleyball, your serve. Other people have pre-game routines, but we're going to focus on the shorter ones here. If you know your pre-shot routine, I want to hear what it is. It could be like your penalty shot too.
Okay, in this video, we are going to learn from Tiger Woods and other tour players about how to have a good pre-shot routine. There's a few consistent elements that you're going to see in all of these players' routine. The first one's going to be some kind of rhythmic practice swing before they hit the ball. So you'll see that he's going back and forth, balance, finish. The next thing that we're going to see is him standing behind the ball and picking a target and an intermediate target close to him. So one out in the distance and one close to him. He puts the club down, his feet move back and forth. He has his eyes looking at the target, and then he recreates the motion. All right. This one found the right side of the fairway. Good shot. So then we have his playing partner. He's going to do a similar routine. He's going to make a rhythmic motion. This keeps the tension out. I want you to rehearse rhythm and balance before you hit the ball. He stands behind the ball. He's going to walk in, club. Watch his feet move back and forth. Feet, eyes, and then he's going to pull the trigger. Back, through, balance, finish. This one, let's see. Little right side of the fairway. Good shot. Then, one of my favorites, Tommy Fleetwood. Same thing. Rhythmic rehearsals. Let's keep the tension out. Have rhythm and balance. Rehearse it. Put it in your body. Stand behind the ball. Pick a specific target and walk into it. Club. Watch the feet move back and forth. Feet go back and forth. His eyes look up the fairway, and he's going to hold his finish. Bomb and drop.
So those were good ones. Now, it's always good to see the GOAT of women's golf here. Yeah, she's, wow, phenomenal.
Hi, I'm Monica. Routines has always been a part of my career and how I believe it's important to deal with nerves. Here, I'm going to share with you my key or my thoughts on a good pre-shot routine, meaning the things I do just before I hit the shot. I have divided up my little space here in two parts. You can see the golf club is dividing it. This area behind the ball is what I call the think box. This area where the ball is where I call the play box or the execution box. So, meaning you're allowed to think in the think box and then you play in the play box. But often, I see a lot of people play in the think box and they think in the play box, meaning they're thinking over the ball rather than executing it. So what you do is when you think, and then again, you are allowed to think in golf. Think about the distance, think about the wind, think about the elevation. This is where you decide what club to use. And once you've decided on the club to use, stand in your think box and feel the swing. Take a practice swing. Look at the target. Visualize the shot. And of course, visualize one of your best. And when you feel like you're ready, take a last look at the target and then step over this imaginary line. And this is where you trust your commitment. Trust your decision over there. Line up the club, do a little waggle to get rid of the tension, and then execute. Try this at home. It's all about making a decision and committing to it, and I guarantee you will lower your score.
She has some great points there, and a lot of golf has a lot of things about it. They think too much, or they try not, or they don't execute. So great stuff there. So you have an assignment, so you need to read the short handout, answer these questions on your own, since we're going to be doing them at home. And I think these are the things, define the term, and it'll be in there, all of those things there. And that's all we have for class today. Turn in those two assignments.